This year's batch of rookies wasn't super deep at the wide receiver position. However, some of them landed in some good landing spots, and then we had some alright receivers land in some not so great landing spots, which really does a number when we're trying to project the middle rounds of our fantasy football drafts or even the late second round. But there is a guy here that has some good metrics to his name, decent draft capital that you may want to think about, and it's Jayden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. I've been getting a lot of Packers fans hitting the channel recently, so I figured I'd talk about him. He broke out at age 18 at Western Michigan with a 25.83% share of his team's passing yardage and averaged 2 yards per team pass attempt. High end. Also, an age 18 market share is rare. You only had a handful of guys in this year's class. You only get a handful of guys every season. He also led the team in receiving. Then he transferred out, went to Michigan State, started back up in 2020 at age 20, and there he instantly broke out with a 24.34% market share of their passing production, which means he broke out with 2 different teams, which is a good indicator that he can switch situations, go to a new team, and make an impact. So there's a chance here that he goes to Green Bay and makes an instant impact of some sort, whether it's getting a large snap share, seeing a large target share, or something. There's a chance that could happen because he did that twice in his career already. And then the following year, broke out over 1,000 yards, 31.11% market share. So we're getting that high-end producer numbers here. The counting stats isn't super high, but remember, this is a low-volume passing offense, but was able to hold a large market share and had 2.57 yards per team pass attempt. Solid numbers here. Solid numbers. Then he followed that up with another season of over a 20% market share. So no matter what, he's been productive. No matter where he was at, he's been productive. One thing against him numbers-wise is he's a 23-year-old rookie, so he is an older rookie. Older rookies tend to have a lesser chance of hitting than a younger guy. That's just overall hit rate. And also, he has just good enough draft capital. 50th overall in the NFL draft, second-round pick. Other things against him, we got the Jordan Love experiments. That might go wrong. That might not be a good thing. We can only wait and find out. But the tea leaves are not suggesting good things with that. He's also got some competition in the offense. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. However, if he's meant to blow up, he'll blow past those dudes. If it's meant to be, he will blow past those dudes really quick. So that's a quick indicator of what you're getting in Dynasty. If year 1.5 or so, he's blown by those dudes on snap share, targets, and everything else. My thoughts is, if I'm a Packers fan, I'm happy. If I'm looking for him in fantasy, I'm a little bit skeptical. But the price is there because he's a pivot from the running backs in round 2. So once your running backs are gone in round 2 and you're looking at wide receiver, it's like him, Josh Downs, maybe a couple other guys. But when you look at ADP, it's agreeing with that thought process because he's going in the middle to late portion of the second round. So a lot of other people are doing that too. Once they're done with the running backs, their top receivers, they're going to eventually go to him. They're going to draft him. Due to the landing spot here, it's very ambiguous. You don't know what you're going to get here, especially for the short term, maybe even long term, which could push him down in production. However, you have some indicators that he can give you a return on investment. How much? Don't know. I imagine we're going to hear some good things about him coming out of camp. I imagine that's going to happen. I imagine he's going to get a lot of buzz. If he's getting a lot of buzz, there's a chance you might be able to get a return on investment in August. You might be able to do that. There's a good chance. I imagine he's going to transition well. I imagine that. He's got a good highlight tape. Ball skills. Very dependable. Can get downfield. Metrics are good athletically. There's not really much bad you can say about him. The landing spot's the big thing in fantasy, mainly because it's an unknown. It's a big transition period. We also have other guys on the roster that can siphon targets. It's a very ambiguous situation with a lot of unknown, but Jayden Reed does have some indicators here, and this is what you get sometimes in the late second round anyways. You get these wide receivers, they have a few indicators here, or they don't have any good metrics, but they land in a great situation. You either get one or the other, and you're just hoping for the best. You're hoping they develop, and you're pivoting from the running backs. We get this a lot. late second round, early third round, sometimes middle second round. These are the prospects you get. This is what you're expecting to get every year. Guys that have something in their portfolio that, hey, I could be good at the NFL level, but also have this, and this stacked against me, because that's where we're at here. We already drafted about 15, 16 players, and now we're starting to get down the list. But those indicators are good things to look at. And if we're going to have a random guy hit, it might be Jayden Reed. It just might be. Am I drafting him? I'm looking at him as a pivot from the running backs. But my thought process here is I'm going hard on the running backs. Hoping one hits. And if they hit, then I might flip them depending on their draft capital, because the sunk cost for that running back isn't there in their NFL team. And bring somebody else in, and then I can cash out and get a higher price or more upside off that running back, or be able to move up to get a better player, somebody with more longevity to keep building my roster. But that's just a roster strategy that I'm looking to implement with some of these later round running backs, considering their draft capital and what happened with them. I'm just shooting lottery tickets out there, because late round running backs can't hit, especially when they got good profiles. And when they hit, it's not for a long time usually, and usually that's your moment to get out when the getting's good. You just have to be willing to pull the trigger. There are some guys that can hold it on for a little bit, but when you can sell in the high, you're never going to be like, man, I missed out. That's rare. Like, that's Aaron Foster, top guys like that. So that's something to look at. But if you're looking for a pivot at running back here in the second round, because there are stints in the draft where it starts to go dry, Jayden Reed's a good get. Jayden Reed's a good guy to look at. You got draft capital here. You got production metrics. You got tape. You have tape aficionados telling you that he looks good. There's a lot of good things here with Jayden Reed. Maybe he can overcome this landing spot. We've had wide receivers do that before, and maybe he can be the backbone of the offense going forward. That could happen. We have a big transition here in Green Bay. That means they're willing to look at everything as well, and I guarantee you, I feel pretty good about this. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to show up at camp, and you're going to hear a lot of news about him, and that's going to bump up his capital. I guarantee it. He transitioned quickly to Western Michigan at age 18. Imagine what you were doing when you were 18. And then, again, age 20, after his time in the portal, going over to Michigan State, immediately breaks out, immediately produces there, immediately is a big piece of their offense. Their low-volume passing offense. They only got so many guys there in the passing game to depend on. Jayden Reed is someone they looked out for. And then the next year, over 1,000 yards receiving, his big breakout season, his huge year where he stood out among everybody in college football, was one of the most prolific when it comes to market share rates. Jayden Reed did that. Wasn't huge on the counting stat-wise. You could probably make a mark on that, because sometimes when guys are low on the counting stats, that could be an indicator that something might be off there. Even though it's a low-volume passing attack, you just see that happen a lot. That's one thing you can say if you want to be skeptical. Also, he's an older wide receiver. Older wide receiver, counting stats aren't huge. And then also, we got a transition period here in Green Bay. Those things might be stacking against him. But at the price tag of entry, you're just getting him cheap and you're just hoping for the best. Other options is trading out and getting into next year. So there's a lot of options here you can do in the late second round, mid-second round of your draft, early third round. So you're not stuck on one player. You're not stuck at one position. There are a lot of scenarios here to do. And I'm just here to let you know what the players are like. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you smash that subscribe button on the way out. Hopefully have more videos out for you today. So stay tuned. I want to thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.